Right, I'm live on my other phone. Is it coming up?
Yeah, it's this phone.
Okay, right, I'm going to have to get Daisy to hold the phone. So I'm just going to turn the phone round. Bear with me a minute, because my phone doesn't fit in the holder. I need to order that other one. Yeah? Has anybody speak? Anybody joined us?
Not yet, no. Oh, Tracy Davis said hi.
Hi, Tracy. We had a problem. The phone you've let me use doesn't work properly, so we've had to use my phone. So I don't know whether to wait and see if anybody else joins or just to crack on, because it's meant to be a Q&A a bit. So should we give it a couple for a minute?
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Oh, don't be silly. I'll find a way round it. Oh, it's not for me.
No, it's mine.
I've got 3 people watching. I'm just wondering who the third person was. Say hi if you've joined. Oh, bloody technology. I hate it.
Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. How are you? I wonder if you could just come out for a minute and just message Tanika for me to say it's live. Thank you. Okay, so Daisy thought that I could do some lives on some Q&As. So I thought, you know, let's do Q&A on square shaped nails, unless you want me to do something else. By all means, shout.
Jenny said good, thanks, still practicing.
Oh, good, good.
Oh, Tanika's still saying she can't get on.
Oh, some people are saying they can't get on. How odd. Let me get the hubby to check. Lee?
I think it must just be Tanika, because everyone else can
Can
get
you
on.
just see if you can see my live on your phone, please? Okay, so maybe I'll just carry on and people can watch it back or catch up, or, you know, it's meant to be a Q&A. Yeah, I just did. Okay, so it's live.
Yeah,
I don't know what
Tanika.
Yeah. If you message Tanika back and just say it is working, so maybe refresh her page or something. Right, so we're going to talk about square nails. One of the hardest shapes to get correct, square nails. So I thought I'd, you know, answer any questions. I've got my 2 practice fingers, bit battered. I've got a new one coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 square nails, one with a tip and one with sculpting, just to show you, and then just go through the filing routine, just to run through a few things. So what products should I be using? Should I do one with Acrygel and one with acrylic, so you can see it work with both? The hair there. Should I do that? I think I will. Well, I don't need this now, do
No.
I? Move it out of the way. So let's do the one with the tip first. So let me get my nail bed. Oh. Okay. And cut that off. So this would be your customer's nail. Okay. So let's just straighten that off. And I'm just going to give it a slight...
Oh, it's come back.
So sorry if you keep losing me. We're having really bad technical issues. Tell me, can you comment to let me know if you're hearing and seeing everything, or if it's just my end that's the problem. All right, sneakers.
Because it's not on that, it's on the group.
Tell her. Is anyone commenting to let me know that you can hear me and see me? Do you know, I hate technology. Right, so I'm using Nail Perfection extra large square tips. I haven't got any ordinary short ones. I don't use tips very often. And we're going to measure to see what fits. That's a bit big. Go for this.
Yeah, they say it keeps cutting out.
Oh. Right, so that one's too small. Let's try this one again. That one's a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to taper in those sides so it fits properly. Do I need to give up and do it another night? Is it? Okay, and that fits. So what I do,
Yeah, I'm just trying to see it keeps freezing.
Does it?
It's not coming up here again. Oh, Tanika's finally found it.
Oh,
said,
hi Tanika.
I said, why don't you try the group and not that link? She's like, oh yeah.
Right, so what I do is I keep my glue in a little pot because I'm a bit of a bugger for knocking it over. So I don't know how you've been taught to do tips, but I find this way the easiest.
Oh, they're saying it's a bit better now. Hopefully we'll see.
Oh, good. Technology. I put just a little bit, very thin. You don't want lots. If you put too much, it won't dry on the actual nail. And then I put my tip on and hold it in place. My wings haven't stuck yet, but I'll show you what to do with that. So let's just wait for it to stick. Oh, let me get my tweezers. Right, I'm going to use my pinching tool and I'm going to pinch it. So these tips are extreme C-curve ones. If you've got ordinary ones, that's fine, but always make sure your wings are in. Okay? So I'm just going to give that another minute just to be on the safe side. It looks a bit wonky. I hate working on fake fingers. Should have done my own finger really. Right, let me just get a... Okay, and I'm going to do a shortish one because, you know, not many people do the long ones. Okay, so I've cut it off the end. It's not that short, is it? Okay, and when you're using your nail cutters, whether you use scissors or not, if you're using the nail cutters, make sure the blade is facing you and not your customer. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just file down the sides to make sure it all fits properly. And you can see I'm holding with my other fingers, so that stops any vibrations, any waywardness. Okay, see, I'm holding it. So you don't prime or anything until you've done this part, okay? Because if you have, you're gonna have to do it all again because you've touched it. Right, so the next biggest tip I give is when you're doing a square, right, the tip is already square, but when you add product to it, it's going to flare slightly. So what I do is I slightly taper my free edge to allow for the product. You remember, if you're adding gel polish or anything like that, and you're capping the free edge, you see these flared square nails, and that's because they haven't tapered it. Okay, so it's tapered. Okay, and then I'm going to just, these are well-less tips, so theoretically I don't need to buff them, but I always do just a little bit. And I'm going to buff right, so this one's slightly more tapered the other side, so let me just fake fingers. Okay, so you can see that one's slightly tapered a bit too much, but we can correct that with product. So you can see that it's not completely square because it will become square when I put the product on. So at this point, this is when you cleanse, prime, and do all your bits. Okay, so if you've done it before, you're gonna have to do it again. So do it after, because then you're not wasting product. If anyone's got any questions while I'm working, please shout. Okay, so I think we'll try acrylic for this one. I don't use acrylic very much these days, but and I'll use a colour pink so you can see it. That's a rose. What colour is that one? Oh, that one I do. So tonight I'm using Camouflage Rose by Anna's Nail Systems, and I'm going to get my brush. Okay, so if you watch, this is a really old one. Look, it's really battered, but it's a number 12 from CJP, but it's really old. I need to get myself some new acrylic brushes. They're so old, mine. So you can see when I put it in, first of all, you can see the bubbles. That's the air in the bristles. So you have to make sure that you get all that air out. So I don't want to see you pushing it down and fanning it, because that just breaks your bristles. You just need to pat it and wipe. So if there's any residue or any bubbles, air, they'll come out. There's no need to be aggressive with your brush. The more aggressive you are, you're damaging it. You know, so you don't want to do that. Okay? So depending on what size bead you want is how much you wipe your brush, okay, from the monomer. So we're going to need a good size, because we're going to do the free edge first. So I'm going to only do two little wipes really, okay, and then with the side, the opposite side, so you wipe one side, turn your brush round and use the side that you haven't wiped to pick up, and you bounce it in the product like that, and you want to place it just before. Wipe my brush, put it back in the monomer, and you want to place it right just before where the join is of the tip. Okay, and as you can see, it's because I've picked up the correct ratio, it's not moving about or anything like that. So at this point, if it's a customer's nail, if you have their nail slightly angled down, gravity will help do your job. And you pat and you pull. Okay, I don't want to see you, it's not swiping, it's patting and pulling. Okay, I've got something on it, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and so what you need to remember is when you're working, you're creating your nail with your product and not your file. Okay, Don't just slap it on with loads of lumps and bumps and hope for the best. Do it properly. Take the time to go in and correct it. So that's your first bead, okay? Second bead is yet another biggish bead, so only a couple of wipes. Turn the brush around and pick up with the bit that you haven't wiped, and you bounce 1, 2, 3, and you place it in the middle. Okay, I always wipe my brush, put it back in my monomer, give it a wipe before I go back in. That gives that chance to fully absorb all the powder, and as you can see, right consistency, so it's not overly running.
Tanika said pat, pat, pull, pull. I repeat this in my head all the time.
Yeah, it's all about the patting and the walking. It's not about pulling, patting, and so you're using the belly of your brush. So you pat and you walk it. Can you see? You pat and you walk it. Now, don't forget to keep wiping your brush so you don't get a build-up of product in the brush. So you can see I'm patting, but as I'm patting, I'm pulling it slightly, and that's what we call walking. And as you can see, as I'm working, that my nail is looking square because I tapered the tip. So if I hadn't tapered the tip and just kept the square tip as it was square, that would start to look fanned. So that's, you know, and you'd have to correct that with your file, and it's too much hard work, to be fair. So you pat and just keep patting to make sure it's compacted down. There's no air bubbles in your work because that can cause lifting. I've got no ridges or anything like that. Okay, so you're supposed to use the 3 bead method, but to be fair, if it takes 5 or 6 beads, 4 beads, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Don't attempt the 1 bead method because a lot of the time the apex isn't there, so which means the strength's not there, and sometimes it doesn't get patted down into the nail and nail tip enough, and it pings off. So by doing it in at least 3 beads or 2 beads, you know, so I'm picking up 3 and I'm placing it where there. So by doing it in 2 or 3 beads or 4 beads, whatever, you're ensuring that you're working it into their natural nail and the nail tip. Okay, so you can see I left it to sit. I've wiped my brush in my monomer again, and now I go in. Okay, so we just go like, and then I just walk it towards the cuticle a bit. So you don't want to put it right up to the cuticle because you'll end up flooding. Okay, and then I'm just going to pat that. I think I'm going to need to put a bit more on. The square is one of the hardest shapes to get right. It's not my favourite shape, not because it's hard, I just don't like the look of a square. And the whole time, you're keeping an eye on the fact that it's the same all the way round. Okay, otherwise you're going to have to overfile one side to compensate, because otherwise it's going to be wonky. Right, so at the moment, if we look sideways, you can see I need a bit here. Okay, so I'm just going to add a bit in, and as I said, it doesn't matter if it's more than 3 beads. I don't really need a great deal on the free edge again, so I'm just going to start here. Wipe my brush. Always wipe your brush after you've laid the bead down so you don't get any build up of product. I see that a lot with people, they get build up. Okay, and then you can see, so I've blended it in and I'm walking it. Any questions about the square? Shout. Daisy can see the questions and I can answer as I'm working. For anybody that's joined tonight, I can send a free PDF which is filing techniques to you. So I'll go back through later or tomorrow and see who joined tonight, and I'll message you with the PDF. Okay, I'm not totally happy because if we look, it's not quite right here. So I'm just going to put a little bit in, and that's because I'm just a little fussy. I can see that bit there. So let's go in and correct that. And what I say to people is, if you can get the basics correct, you'll get really good looking nails, very satisfied customers. Don't try and get too fancy or anything like that. Concentrate on the basics first, because that's the foundations of all nails. Okay, so if I show you, you can see it's level.
Jenny said thank you, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I'll send that to you, Jenny. I think I sent you a message earlier, Jenny, so I'll follow you up. I'll follow that up. I'm faffing like I always do, and I just want to put a bit here.
Tanika said it looks good.
I just thought it needed just that little bit. See, and if you do the work with your brush like I'm doing, there's next to no filing. There you go, that's better. And as you can see, it's looking square. Even though that tip was tapered, I've now got a square nail. All right, when you've got tips, you can pinch if you want to. For salon nails, I don't think you need to pinch. If you haven't had the training on how to pinch, don't pinch, because you can cause damage. All right, so only do it if you've had the correct training. But that doesn't need pinching, you know. If you've put it on correctly, it shouldn't need pinching. Okay.
Jenny said I did answer, but late. I was at football.
No, that's all right. I haven't checked. I'll go in and check later. It's me trying to do too many things at once. So let me move my acrylic out the way, and while that's drying, I'm going to go onto my Acrygel. I thought if I use two different products, then you can see how it is. So let me find my clear. Oh no, let's use a rose. All right, so I'm going to be using my Acrygel, my rose one. Okay, colour pink.
It matches that background.
It does a bit. And I'm going to have to use a base coat because it's Acrygel, and I'm using my base coat for this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a nail bed on again. So imagine you'd be prepping your customer's nails at this point. You'd be doing cuticle work and all that kind of stuff. Okay, get my scissors and cut it off. You can use your tip cutters or whatever. Right, so when you're filing a real nail, you know, 180, 240 grit, and you do it in straight motions. You don't do this because it separates the nail left plates, you know. It's so just nice, and I've just tidied that up. I'm just going to go over and buff, and you can see just how light I'm doing it. When you're prepping the real nail, you are literally just taking the shine, not the nail. All right, so if you're getting lots of debris coming up, you're filing too much. Okay, as you can see here, there's hardly any debris because I'm literally just buffing. But you don't want to use a white buffer block because that is for smoothing. I'm just using a finer grit file. So 180 grit, 180, and look, next to no debris at all, and that's what you're looking for. Okay, so what I do now is, if I'm going to use forms and I'm using my Acrygel, I put the base coat on first, because you don't want to put the form on. They put their hands in the lamp and they move it all before you get to put the Acrygel on. It's really frustrating, time consuming. So base coat, to get near the cuticle, you fan your upright and fan and pull. And pull it down. Very nice and thin, so it's not running. It's more like a glue adhesion base coat, so that's what's for. Make sure you've covered the hole now, because otherwise it might cause lifting if you haven't. Cut the free edge, and I'm going to whop that in the lamp, 30 seconds. Okay, so forms, I've got several forms. I've got some from Anna. These are what I'd call salon length ones. Oh, Daisy's pulling funny, nodding her head, I was out of shot. Yeah, so these are salon length ones. I'm nearly out of these ones. I've also got some from Wish. Salon length ones again. They're not as sturdy as the Anna ones, but they do, you know. And I've got these ones that are from SBD, which are really nice. So yeah, you know, there's loads of different types of forms, but what if you look at all of them, they've all got wide tails, okay, wide tails, and this is what you're looking for. You do not want the ones, especially for square nails, you do not want the ones that go thin. You know, you see these butterfly shaped ones and they go really thin. You don't want those, okay. So let me just get a pair of scissors.
Tanika said were the gold ones not from Sheen?
That's what I said.
You said Wish.
Oh crap, sorry, I meant Sheen.
See, I told you I have to date and time everything she says.
Oh my god. Poor Tanika spent most of the day with me today, and I've probably driven her bonkers. Okay, so I use a pair of scissors like this to adjust the forms if it needs adjusting. Do not use your cuticle scissors because it will blunt them. All right, so have a separate pair of scissors purely for your forms, okay? Because you don't want them blunted, because then you'll be tugging cuticle rather than cutting it. Right, so these fingers are notorious for, that hasn't got a doobry. Oh, it's there, look. All right. Put that there. So you take the form off, and you don't want to try and touch the back of it too much, so you just hold the edges and you pop your tab, and we use this to give us extra support, and you put it sort of just underneath, okay, like that, and that makes your form thicker. So you can see I just touch the edges, and then what we do is we bend and we roll. You're rolling it into the shape that you need for a nail, okay? And this is what's going to create your C-curve. C-curves are really important because they keep it strong. They make your nails stronger, and all our nails naturally grow with C-curves. All right, so you can see it's nice and rolled. You don't want to pinch it because you don't want to crease. You're just rolling it in between your thumbs. Excuse my nails, they're in a terrible state. I really need to do them. So yeah, okay, right. So you put it underneath.
You're out short.
Put it underneath, and for a square, okay, because it's flat on the top, it's not quite in the middle. I hate working on these with form. Your form has to go up at an angle. All right, so the shorter your square, the higher the angle. The longer your square, the lower the angle, but it still needs to be a slight angle, because if you do it flat, it's not going to be structurally safe, because that won't be a proper square. All right, so, and then what you do is you'll have to make sure that they're meeting at the end. Okay, and you can see I need to cut here and here, so I'm just going to go in and cut it.
Tanika said you've been picking your forms as well.
I have. I tell my customers off for doing that, so I'm just going to take that away for a minute. and cut the form. And then what you do, you can cut those bits off or just fold them. Okay, so you're going to notice I haven't pinched the end. I'll just put my finger back in. Obviously it's easier on a natural nail. I should have done it on my nail really, I think. I couldn't be bothered to take my bits off. So I tilt it, pull me flaps back, and then we pinch it along the line here. Right, and in doing so, you're creating your C-curve. It's all in line, and off we go. Okay, let me get a brush. I thought I was all organised and I'm not, as usual. Okay, so when you're using Acrygel, you need to use a slip solution. Acetone, in desperation you can use acetone. Oh, it's there. But it's not as good as slip solution. Okay, so I'm using my slip solution, which is also a nail prep dehydrator, and it's a slip, takes the tacky layer off as well. So it's a multi-purpose one. So what we do is, if I bring it in, we do the same with our gel brush. Okay, make sure there's nothing inside. Then we tip our spatula in. Okay, this is going to be difficult. I'll have to lay that down, and we're going to scoop it like we would butter. Okay, not quite right. Hang on, that's moved. Okay, and then you roll it on, and you're doing the same sort of technique, patting and walking. Okay, that's done. I can take my form away. So inadvertently I've created my tip. Okay, and I'm going to get some more. Roll it on, and you pat. And again, like you do with your acrylic, remember this is part acrylic Acrygel, hence the name Acrygel. You pat it in. Okay, and I'm just making sure. Doing the work with my brush, it's no different. Okay, and straight, not like this, like this, straight. Okay, not like that, because that won't give you a straight sidewall otherwise. So you backwards and forwards, and you're supporting with the other hand, with the other. Okay, then you go over the top. Remember, the harsher the grit of the file, the more scratches. So if you're going over with 150, make sure you just rub over it with the 180 afterwards to smooth out some of those scratches. But you don't want to smooth out all the scratches. So I've got my nice straight sidewalls, I fold over, and then you turn their finger, flat file, and keep that flat. Okay, you turn their finger the other way and do the same. So this side's just a tad thicker because I compensated for not over filing the tip. So I'm just going to correct that. Oh. Okay, around the cuticle, so you sweep at an angle, and by doing it this way, obviously your customer snails won't keep popping out. By doing it this way, you'll automatically be creating your apex. You see? Okay, this is not quite right here, so I'm just going to place my finger on so that the nail doesn't. Okay, do my free edge, make sure it's all level. Right, and I can see that still looks a little too thick, so I'm just going to work it just a bit more. Okay, so we straight. Oh, these files. I hate these fingers. Okay, sides, over, side, and then what I find is a really good move is you've got your finger like that and you do that. And keeping the file flat, so you're filing evenly. I've got a new fake hand coming, so hopefully that'll be easier to work on. And you can see I'm keeping that flat and just rounding off on the corners. And it's still very slightly too thick, but it will pass for tonight. Okay, so I'll show you. Okay, any questions on the filing? Right, so I'm going back to my Acrygel. I'm going to pick up my last little bit, and it's going to be just a tiny bit. Okay. Oh, the cats let us know they're home. And you roll that on. I've got a bit on the other side, so I might as well put that on there. If it's not the husband, it's the cat. If it's not the cat, it's the dog. And then we're patting it into place. Remember, the same with this product, keep wiping your brush to make sure that you don't have a build-up of product in it. You shouldn't have any product in it at all, but when you're first learning, it can be a bit hard. So, okay. Don't know what's the matter with the cat. And if there's any surplus, you take that off. Okay. And I'm going to whop that in to be cured 60 seconds. Okay, and then I'm just going to clean my thing, wipe my brush. If your brushes, I'll do a live on how to maintain your brushes, I think, one week. Some good hints and tips. And always remember, as soon as you finish using anything gel based, you put the lid on it. Otherwise lights might cure it or something. And to be fair, if you're using acrylic or anything, put the lids on, because I have lost so much product because I've accidentally knocked it over. So, yeah, so I'm going to get a wipe. So these are wax strips cut up into little squares because they are completely lint free and it's cheap, you know, so it's good. And I'm going to use my solution because it's a dispersed solution too for the dispersed layer. I'll just give that a few more seconds. If you don't wipe the dispersed layer off on an Acrygel now, or hard gel now for that matter, it'll clog your file. Okay, so you don't really want that. It's a bit annoying, really. So tonight I'm doing it without using the e-file. You know, I'm doing it the basic old-fashioned way, because not everybody's trained in e-file. But I have to say, E-files are amazing, save so much time. I've got really knackered hands now, so I use the e-file more to save my hands. So disperse layer, make sure you give it a good wipe. You don't want to just wipe it like that, give it a good wipe, okay? Make sure it's all off. And then we follow the same routine. Bearing in mind, Acrygel is very slightly softer to file than acrylic, okay? So these files I use, I buy them off Amazon actually. They're one per customer use. I use them one per customer, throw it away and get a new one out for the next customer. I don't sanitize and reuse because I just don't think you can sanitize nail files properly. I've got a bit here, look, you see? So what you can do sometimes, if you've got a bit like this, you can snip it off. So she says. Say that. Okay. Push it back in. I'm going to practice on my nails next time. Or my new hand.
We're going to do a cool set on me tomorrow, aren't we?
Yeah. So I'm doing my free edge. If you're watching this back, you've missed the live, you've still got questions, ask your questions and I can still answer them. That's fine. So you can see I've done my straight, and now I'm creating, because as much as they're square, they've still got curved over like that. So you don't want square because it won't look right. The natural nail doesn't look like that either. Right, so you're curling over the edge, which you would have created anyway with your brush. You're just, with your file, you're just refining. Okay, I'm now going to go around my cuticle at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, because ideally you don't want to be touching their skin with the file because it might cut them, might make it sore. But by doing that, can you see how clean the cuticle area looks? Okay, because as that grows out, you don't want it looking rubbish. You want it to look nice. If you've got someone that's got really, so just on my fingers, I've got really chubby side balls. Right, I'm just going to show you a trick. You can use plastic bulldog clips, whatever. You get your customer and you do that, and it takes it out of the way. So you can get to the nail to file it easier. So that's always a good tip. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that both sides are level and then just carry on refining. It's just a tad too thick for me, so I'm just going to, so you can see I go one side, top, over to the other side, back again to the top, to the side again. So I'm constantly moving my file. I'm not just doing one bit and then moving, just keep the file constantly moving. And then what you want to do, if you're not sure if it's finished or not, you get your customer's finger and you look, and you can turn their hand around so it looks like that. So I can see that's not quite level. So don't be too frightened to move your customer's fingers about to check that it's all right, you know, because you want to create a good set of nails. Same side, top, other side. Yeah. Just a bit, so I can see there's just a bit too much on this side, so I'm just going to give this side just a bit more, because you want it as close to the same all the way round on your free edge as possible. If it's fat and lumpy one side, it's going to look lopsided. Okay, so that's relatively Okay, and that is a Salon Square, there's a bit there, Acrygel one. So regardless whether you're using Acrygel, acrylic, it's the same method, okay? Remember, acrylic cures as you're using it. Acrygel, it has to be cured in the lamp. Does that look straight? Yeah, it looks straight, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can't tell really. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, am I in?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a Salon Square. Okay. So I've gone over a few filing tips. If you've joined tonight, I'll send you your PDF on filing techniques. And yeah, any questions? If you've not asked them now and you want to ask afterwards, that's fine. Put it in the comments and I'll answer them back for you. Okay, sorry about all the glitches. Blooming internet.